Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to my world. I think I covered all the time zones. Today our guest is Stephen Schwartz. I'm in Boca Raton, Florida, and he is right now in Israel, in Jerusalem. He is the International Director of Resource and Development for Herzog Hospital in Jerusalem, our Holy Land. I'm going to do the show different this time. I want to bring out a few points, what I'm doing to bring money into Herzog Hospital from donation, except I'm going to be giving 40% of all the books I'm selling, not only as events that I'm having, also if you buy it on the internet. And I have many books. I'm just going to go through it quickly. So here's a book, for example. One of the books I'm going to be offering is the one by Peter Tickton. He's a friend of Donald Trump. This is not a political book. He's talking about Donald Trump, the mensch, which means Donald Trump, the man, the warm man that he really is, not all that crap that you hear on television. He's a good man. I like him. Then the other book that I'm putting up for the same amount is the Chubby Conqueror. And we're also working on the movie on that. And I can give you 250 million reasons why the book will be successful. Because we have in America over 250 million of us that are overweight and obese. That will make the movie successful because people will relate to it. 40% of all those proceeds will go to Herzog Hospital. Then you have a book like Mama, Why Am I Black? All my books are really meant for kids and their parents, or people of all ages. Those are actually called novelettes. And to give you an idea, this book also has pictures in them. And the book itself, basically, it's about, in the book, it actually says, Mama, why am I black, not white like you? It's about a 5-year-old boy who asks his mother one day, Mama, why am I black, not white like you? And the mother explains to him. Now, I have to mention first, the mother is from Eastern Europe. She has red hair and blue eyes. And his father is from Ethiopia, and he's black. So it was a logical question, but the answer was important. The mother explains to him, Iskinder, you were created from the best of your mother and father. That's why you have such beautiful blue eyes and red hair like me, and beautiful skin like your father, brown skin like your father. But most important, that's why you're so handsome and smart. Nobody can argue with that. But more than that, the book is also a history book. It started off with Moses leading the Israelites out of Israel, out of Egypt, I should say. Then it goes to King David, intermarriage, King Solomon. Then it goes into the American Civil War. Then it goes into women's suffrage and the 1960s civil rights movements, up to date. So it's a whole history of the book, but presented that children and parents can understand it. Yes, parents, because we keep on forgetting. This is why we always have wars, because history repeats itself. We must teach our children before they become jaded and cynical, actually jaded and cynical in life. And I really believe it. So all my books have messages in them. But what's most important for us as Americans, we have to take care of our ally. Israel is our ally. I'm not trying to be melodramatic, but here's the Israeli flag. As a matter of fact, I tried to find a shirt that looks like the flag. And here's the American flag. Is it so hard to understand that we take care of our allies? We don't throw them under the bus? That's why President Trump is important. This is not meant as a political speech. This is meant for America. This is our ally, and this is ours, our flag. Let's let the allies stick together, and God bless America and Israel. We will prevail. Now, one of the things I'm trying to do, and it looks like it's going to work, I have been in correspondence with President Trump, Lara Trump Jr., in creating a major event, a gala event in Mar-a-Lago. Why would Trump do it for Herzog Hospital? Well, for two reasons. First of all, it will be for American wounded soldiers and Israel Herzog Hospital. In 1995, on the 100th anniversary of Herzog Hospital, Donald Trump, see his picture? He had a gala in the St. Regis Hotel. It was very successful. So he knows Herzog Hospital. So he has a good feeling for it. And now, because of all the butchering and things that have been happening, God knows how much the hospital needs help. But I'm going to let Steve talk about that. There are a lot of things happening right now. And Steve, I'd like you to give I had to put my little spiel in there. I wanted people to know what I'm working on to make sure I can get the $1 million. Why $1 million? I met Steve personally when he came to the US. I also met Dr. Kane, who's the president of the hospital, who was that time in 1995. His name is also in the article. He was the administrator. Now he's the president. So we're going to have two presidents. They know each other, which is great. I know it's going to be successful, and I know we're going to be able to collect millions of dollars. And the profit will be split between Herzog Hospital and American wounded soldiers. Now, I want to ask you one question. How many leaders in the world do you know that are going through a witch hunt, spending millions of dollars, fighting every day because the Democrats don't like somebody who goes against the grain? And yet, and is also collecting money for his campaign. It's all about money. We want to make sure he wins. And yet, Trump will take off time, not for the campaign, but to help the American wounded soldiers and Israel, its best ally and friend. That takes a real character, a real man to do something like that. And I'm proud to be behind Trump. Now, I said my spiel. Now, Steve, tell us a little about yourself, your background, and then I have a few questions I would love to ask you. Your Honor, I rest my case.
Okay. I originally am from New York. Grew up in a regular middle-class family. And at a very young age in my teens, I got this very strong urge from where I don't know that I needed to live in Israel. So back in 1988, my wife and I moved to Israel. It's called Aliyah, with our 3-year-old and 1.5-year-old daughters from Fair Lawn, New Jersey. And we actually, in the States, had the American dream. We both had excellent jobs, a beautiful home, everything that one would want. And we still felt, and we had all our family living in the States. And one would think, okay, life is simple, life is routine, everything's going fine. And, when my wife was pregnant with our second kid, I said, if we don't get on that plane, by the time the kid's 1 year old, we're just going to get deeper roots in the States. And I have nothing against the States. It's a wonderful country, as Amos is saying. It's a phenomenal country, which right now is going through its very, very, very difficult challenges from coast to coast. I'm not going to get involved with that. If Amos wants to discuss that later, fine. And I wound up, I was always involved in helping Jewish organizations, political campaigns, fundraising, nonprofits. So when this Herzog Hospital approached me, which they were established in 1894, that's 129 years ago. They were established in the old city of Jerusalem by a group of women because at that time, there were many women in the old city. Don't forget, with 1894, there was no modern Jerusalem. There were many women living in poverty, having one child after another. And at that point, they did not know what postpartum depression was. These women got together and said, we've got to create a facility, a house, a home for these women after birth to spend 1-2 weeks just to get back to themselves. Brings us to 1906, and the hospital becomes a fully psychiatric hospital. And for the first 75 years of our existence, we were the pioneers in Israel in everything in mental health, from schizophrenia to trauma to depression, etc. In the 60s and 70s, when Israelis started getting older, there were no geriatric hospitals that specialized in comprehensive care for the elderly. Because if you do your math, 1948, when Israel was established, fast forward, and you had 20 and 30-year-olds, fast forward 50, 60 years later, and these people were getting into the 60s and 70s. So we then became the only geriatric mental health hospital in Israel and one of the few in the world. And that relates to Alzheimer's disease. Because Alzheimer's disease, which we became, I won't say experts at, but very good at diagnosing, treating, and preventing, it's a combination of geriatric care and mental health. Now, let's fast forward to October 7th. We today are almost a 600-bed hospital. About 30 years ago, we set up a psychotrauma center to treat people suffering from PTSD. Originally, it was for Holocaust survivors and for domestic violence. Beginning of 2000, you had numerous terrorist attacks in Israel where there were, let's say, 5 people killed, 20 injured, but 200 people saw body parts blown apart. There were no services. People would rush to the emergency ward, but there was nothing they could do. So our trauma center became the leading agency in Israel to develop protocols for the entire healthcare system, for the entire education system, etc. We then wound up what I call having a SWAT team, where our trauma experts went to Biloxi, Mississippi after Katrina. They went to Haiti after the earthquake. They went to Chechnya after a terror attack. They went to Colorado after the mass shooting. So let us just say our experience in PTSD at all levels of mental health is extensive. October 7th happens, and we already had several projects in place. One project was something we set up, believe it or not, 3 years prior to help young people between the ages of 18 to 25 who were having mental health challenges, but they weren't being sufficiently serviced by the healthcare system. They might have moved out of the home, they might have become homeless, got involved with drugs, whatever. This program saw 300 young people treated where, believe it or not, I mean, this may sound strange for an American audience, but their therapist or their psychiatrist would give the individual their home cell number. So if they felt suicidal at 11 o'clock at night, they can call the therapist to be talked down. Why is that important today? As you all know, the concert, what's called the Nova concert, which killed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of young people who were there to celebrate peace, believe it or not, were all in the 18 to 25 age category. So there are thousands of survivors which we're now taking care of, which is expanding all over the place. Again, under the category of you can't script these things, in June of 2023, Israel's Ministry of Defense came to us and signed a contract with us designating Herzog as the official mental health PTSD center for all soldiers, military personnel, security personnel who were classified as suffering from PTSD because of their service. Going back to the Yom Kippur War, for those that don't know, untreated PTSD leads to drug abuse, domestic violence, suicide, and it pretty much can ruin your life. And PTSD is very treatable, not by medication. So all of a sudden you have soldiers fighting in Gaza, seeing their friends being wounded or killed. They are now coming to us. We were designated for not just Jerusalem as the only place in Jerusalem, but also for the entire south of Israel. So that expanded our work as well. Last item, and then I'll turn it over to Amos for questioning, is when we built our new wing, one of the requirements by the Ministry of Defense for a hospital was we had to build an underground sheltered hospital, which initially had 160 beds. This underground hospital was built to withstand missile attack, chemical and biological warfare. Ironically, when COVID hit, we wound up having 120 COVID patients staying at Herzog. And what we had to do, for your engineers in the audience, is reverse the air conditioning ducts. If you want to be protected from chemical warfare, you got to keep the bad air out. You have COVID, you want to keep the bad air in. When the war started, hospitals in the South had to make beds available very, very quickly of general patients, internal medicine, and rehab, and so on. Close to 100 patients within 72 hours were transferred to Herzog's underground hospital. We had the beds. 4 weeks ago, the Ministry of Defense comes to us with the Ministry of Health and says, we need you to make another 100 beds available in the underground hospital, which we vacated a whole engineering area, because of the concern that if the war in the north with Hezbollah escalates, they will have to do the same thing with the hospitals in the north to vacate beds to send them to us. So, if you will, while the news you're hearing nonstop on whatever news station you listen to, and I want to make one comment about that in a second, there are a lot of factors behind what you're hearing. And one of the biggest mistakes Hamas made on October 7th was on October 8th, it united every Israeli. No matter what their political persuasion was, no matter what their religious persuasion was, they, on their own, volunteered to do anything and everything, from going to the agricultural fields to help pick fruit and vegetables because all the foreign workers disappeared, or working with evacuees, where, as far as the numbers, there are close to 100,000 Israelis from the south and north who have been living in hotels since October 7th. So we have volunteers who are going to the hotels to work with the evacuees, including our hospital, where we're staying therapists, because it's nice to go to a hotel for a week, but picture being there with your 3 kids in a hotel room and trying to keep them that busy. So Israelis, and I love the news. Same thing in Israel. I always say that what's important to the news is not dog bites man. The news is always looking for man bites dog. So everything you're seeing, and I tell this to my 92-year-old mother living in Brooklyn, everything you're seeing, and I get CNN and Fox and MSNBC here, etc., they isolate stories that don't even cover 1% of the reality. Israelis are, it's a very warm feeling. It's one of the reasons I moved to Israel, because we're so connected now to do whatever we can. I'm going Thursday morning I'm going to an agricultural field to help pick lemons and pineapples. So things are challenging in Israel, no question. But we're going to get out of this really, really well and stronger than ever as a people and as a country. Amos, back to you.
Well, here's a problem. All the questions I was going to ask, you answered.
So
As a matter of fact, one of the first questions I was going to ask you, because I got notes, is what has changed in Israel since October the 7th? Obviously, you answered all the questions, the amount of beds, you answered them. But let's keep going anyway. What people don't realize in America, sadly, is that with all the fighting, everybody says peace, peace, peace. There was a peace treaty with Hamas. What happened to it? They broke it on October the 7th.
I wouldn't call it a peace treaty. It was never a peace treaty. There was an understanding that you don't bother us, we'll leave you alone.
Okay.
Hamas always existed to kill Israelis, kill Jews. In fact, maybe this never got in the news. Over 150 foreign workers from Thailand and Nepal were also killed. Some of them today are still hostages. So it's not a peace treaty. It's, one of the jokes in Israel is we live in a bad neighborhood.
When I say peace treaty, maybe I used the wrong word, but they were living together because they have to. Israel's not going anywhere.
Great.
When I ask some people, and because I'm converting people from Democrats to be Republicans, and when I ask them a question, when I ask them, do you know what it means from the river to the sea? No. Then I explain to them. He says, yeah, but that's amazing to me. People don't understand, and they don't realize. Can you imagine living in America every day? You have to go into a bunker because missiles are flying over from Hamas, from Hezbollah now more than ever, and it doesn't stop. And you want them. America should be 100% behind Israel. That's why it's so important. Israel has to hold on until Trump, because Biden's not going to change. That's going to help Israel a lot.
I really want to avoid the political element because we have no control here in Israel as to who's going to be president. Yes, America knows that Israel is its best ally, full stop. But when you're in electioneering mode, and I'll give you an example. I happened to give a talk, 6 months ago, not in Boca, but in Deerfield Beach in Florida, or Boynton Beach, I don't remember. And a woman there was from Dearborn, Michigan, which is a swing state, okay, heavily Muslim. The mayor of Dearborn is Muslim, okay. And she was saying that how difficult it is as an American and as a Jew to be in that environment. And when I spoke in Tennessee, one of the things I told people was, don't be confused by what the flavor of the month is. Don't be confused by the labeling you hear on the news. If, just like you're doing, Amos, and you go to one person and you tell that person, hey, from what the river to the sea, and you've changed that person, that's already a victory. I mean, months ago, there was a phenomenal piece by Bill Maher, okay, the TV guy. And he did a whole thing, and he's become very pro-Israel. He did this whole thing where he says, you talk about from a river to the sea. Okay, so fine. Israel goes to the sea. Where are they going to relocate to? And then he says a great line. They're going to relocate to Texas? So what I'm saying is, yes, there is ignorance. Yes, you ask 70% of American citizens, Israel and what's going on is not relevant to their life. It's what the media does to create the noise, to sell advertising, to sell newspapers. I have not seen an American paper for a good number of years, no connection with Israel, that is totally objective. They all have their angle. It's always opinionated somehow. You know, I don't want to get into examples, but the thing is that, you know, again, I travel in the States quite a bit. And one of the things over the years that when I have a conversation with someone in America, at the end of the call, they would tell me, okay, Steve, be safe because of the terror attacks. Now, when I end the call with someone in the States, I tell them, be safe. You all saw that video of a guy on a subway car in Manhattan, packed car, and he yells out, are there any Zionists in this car? All you needed was one person to answer, and who the hell knows what happened.
Exactly. Steve, we only have 1 minute to go, so I want to bring out a few points.
Sure, please.
Go to my website, and by the way, thank you. It comes from literally from the bottom of my heart. Yeah. Thank you for being my guest today. Would you tell our audience how they can reach you or find out more about you? We will also put you in the description box at the end. But what is important, buy the books so I can give as much money as possible. You can buy it. Go to my website, www.knollpublishing.com. You can see it at the end. And if you want to give more, all the extra money goes to Herzog Hospital, and you will get a receipt from the hospital so you can have a tax write-off. Because it's a nonprofit organization, Herzog Hospital. So it won't cost you. Your kids will love the books. You will love the books. And the messages will be all clear. All my messages in all my books are for our kids and for the parents. So make sure we don't forget, because we keep on forgetting in history, and that's why we have wars after wars. Every new generation, there's a new war. And Israel happened to be the coal mine, the canary in the coal mine. What's happening in Israel, America, I hate to tell you, it's coming over here to bite us. It doesn't matter which, doesn't matter. I'm not going to blame Biden, which of course I personally feel has a lot to do with it, with the open immigration, etc. But right now we got to solve the problems, and we got to teach our children. We got to teach our children. That's our future. Those are going to be our future presidents, our future doctors, attorneys, the plumbers, the electrician, our people. Steve, I'd like to thank you very much for the interview. You did fake me out, so I can't ask you the question. You answered all of them. I think it was great.
It's okay.
I love it. I really do.
But two points. First of all, you know, the American Friends of Herzog Hospital is an official tax-exempt organization, number one. And Amos, when you post anything, you know, for people to contact, more than happy, give them my email address, you know, as well as the link for an online donation, whatever. But I want to thank you for your initiative. And for everybody listening, I've seen and read not just the books Amos showed, but quite a few other books. They're all sitting in my office. But when I came back from Florida,
here's another book. Here's another book.
Exactly.
Here's another.
My suitcase was overloaded.
Here's another book.
It was overweight. Exactly. So the more you educate your children through these books, the more it's like a triple win. You're helping your kids, because you know, one of my lines is all these demonstrations at the universities, they're going to be your next political leaders, mayors, congressmen, senators, not just doctors. So, you know, today, it's just to give a concept. Today is a major Muslim holiday. So how is Hamas celebrating in the Gaza Strip? They're taking all their kids from nursery school, giving them guns, and having them play out, role play, killing Jews. That's at 3 years old. Realize all these 20 and 22-year-old terrorists, where'd they get their training from? From school, from the United Nations school system in the Gaza Strip. So please buy Amos's books.
Steve, I love to listen to you, and I can probably talk to you for the next 5 hours and really go into some of the details. But thank you very much, and we'll be hearing from you again. I enjoy talking to you, and I think I'm gonna make sure that this video on YouTube will be all over. People will appreciate it. And I hope the American people are going to learn more about Israel. So when they vote, they understand what they're voting for. And God bless Israel and America. So I started off like that. That's what allies are about. Literally, I'm not trying to be melodramatic. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.